Well, as you always know, Mondays are normally the most boring day starting the week. But however, on this particular Monday, we're going to keep things very excited for you guys. As you know, this past weekend we had the much recent GCW shows Role Model down on the 23rd of March at Detroit, Michigan. This one features a lot of good matches on this one, but also the following day in Rochester, New York, The Block is Hot on the 24th of March. Both shows were great. Now keep in mind these are the last two shows before we jump into the collective on WrestleMania week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait to review these two shows. However, we're going to be reviewing first things first, Sendai Girls' recent show in Shin-Kiba on the 17th of March. This one features pretty good matches, but however, the main event is for the Sendai Girls Tag Team titles. The champions Our Ultra Powers, consistent of Hiroyo Hashimoto, the Lady Destroyer, and of course Dash Shizako. They take on Ryo Mizunami and Manami. So that's going to be a real fun match to watch. And then, of course, we're going to be doing some news updates for all of you. As you know, we're going to keep you guys updates on what events the promotions are throwing, who's booked, what matches are set, developments happening in the world of pro wrestling, and then, of course, a very interesting development with the newly formed alliance known as the United Japan Pro Wrestling, where promotions all over Japan work together to do a collaboration show. So that's going to be something by itself in our news updates, and I can't wait for you guys to hear this. So let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Leaded Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something interesting has happened in the world of pro wrestling you guys need to be alerted from. We also do the Unagi Sayaka watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool features on this channel as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or leave us a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions set aside, it's time for me to shut up and get this show on the road. So let's begin with our very first review, and this is from Sendai Girls. Okie dokie. Now, let's begin with our very first review, and this is from Sendai Girls and Shin-Kiba. This took place recently on the 17th of March. Now, for the record, I haven't done a review with Sendai Girls. I think the last one I did was back in November. Uh, but yes, now also on the record, I want to put it, there was another show after this one. I haven't seen it yet. I'm looking for some ways to see if I can find it, but this is the one I definitely want to put out for all of you. Now, this took place, like I said, on the 17th of March in Shin-Kiba First Ring, one of those venues down in Tokyo, Japan. Pretty good one. Now, our very first match, we have Yuna, who I'm going to presume is the the rookie in Sendai Girls. She takes on against Marvelous's Maria. Yes, guys, we have talent who are either freelancers or from other promotions make their way here. Not only they have homegrown girls from Sendai Girls, but yes, that's pretty much it. But I have to say, of course, Maria, she is a very capable wrestler. When you think of Maria, you think of her success with Riko Kawahara as Magenta, but nope. We have seen Maria on a few occasions how she's a very capable wrestler. But however, I feel like this is a bit of a tune-up match for Yuna to, how do I say, sharpen her wrestling craft as a rookie. But you would think that, okay, she's the rookie, she will probably lose her match, and of course Maria will win. And that was exactly the point that happened. Maria applied a submission move, and of course Yuna had no other choice but to tap. Now our next match, we have Yuta Suzuki. I may have seen her in Gleet on a few occasions. She teams up with Veni, formerly known as Asuka. They take on against Sendai Girls' very own Yurika Oka, and of course, from Marvelous, Miyu Momono. So it's interesting to see two wrestlers from two different promotions in the same team. It was a pretty good one. Now, the one thing I do have to be more that, of course, Oka and Mio have to be more careful is Veni, how dangerous and vicious she could be. Now, you would think that Yuzuki, who could be a bit of a reliable wrestler, she is. However, that wasn't the case on this one because it was, of course, Yuri Oka who did like a some sort of a splash onto her to pick up the win. And as soon as the match was over, Veni got into a big, fist fight with Miyu Momono, and then of course she got mad with Suzuki, who was responsible for the loss. So things didn't go exactly her way. But however, it was Yurika Oka and Miyu Momono who picked up the W, and that was pretty much it. Now, our next match, this is a very interesting one. This is a non-title match. Rika Kawahara takes on the Sendai Girls World Champion Mika Iwata, as I said before, in a non-title match. Now, I have to say this was going to be an interesting matchup. Now, I'm sure some of you would think if Rika Kawahara picks up a win against Mika Iwata, she could get an opportunity for the Sendai Girls World title. Well, that looks more likely because you got to remember, Mika is the current top champion. But of course, she has been one of the most impressive champions so far. And man, she really blew the socks off for me when she took out Rico with some sort of a kick off the corner top, and just like that, it was over. I did not expect that. Then, of course, she did a little promo, and I think she might have said some props towards Rico. I'm sure she might have thought Rico was this close and tried to beat her in order to get a shot at the title. Well, it's not going to happen, but I feel like she appreciates the fact that she has faced a strong competitor. I mean, Rico, we know she is a very capable wrestler in singles competition, but with her friendship with Maria, she's finding even more success. But we'll see how the future holds for Rico down the line. But however, I think the obvious question now Mika Iwata has in mind is who's going to be the next challenger? Well, apparently, it seems that a former champion decided to step up, and that is none other than Veni. Now, I cannot remember if Veni actually lost the belt towards her. Give me a minute to look it up. I mean, I know there's a on that because I remember I saw bits and pieces of that on online recently. Like, what was it, last month? Okay, hold on a few minutes, guys. Let me pull it up real quick. I know I'm wasting time on this. Okay, let's see. No, no, no. She beat this belt from Millie McKenzie. Now I remember. Yes, Vanny lost her belt to Millie McKenzie, and then of course Millie McKenzie lost it to Mika Awada. Yes. So that's what happened. So she beat Mika won this belt back in September of 2023. So yes. So it would make sense that Venny would definitely want to get another wants to regain the belt that she lost, but we'll see what time will tell until then. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting match. We have Zones. She teams up with Passion! Nanane Takahashi. They take on Team 200 Kilogram, Yu and Shihiro Hashimoto. So, this is going to be a very interesting match because this is a bit of a hoss fight, if you, or a powerhouse, however you want to call it. I mean, I have to say it was pretty good. And I think it was a pretty impressive match. I mean, don't forget, if Zones and Nanane would have picked up a victory on Team 200 kilogram, they would have been in a position to enter a conversation, even though Team 200 kilogram are not the current tag champions, but they have won those tag titles on multiple occasions. They would have been on the conversation, but however, that was not the case for Zones or Nana Takahashi. It was Hashimoto with a big power bomb, and just like that, it was over. She did apply that onto Zones, and it was over. Excuse me. But just like that, the match was over. And then, of course, there was a promo going around, and then Hashimoto and Nanane got into each other's faces. I wouldn't be surprised if those two will meet up somewhere to have a one-on-one match. So we'll see how that goes. Now, our main event is the Sendai Girls Tag Team titles. Maname teams up with Ryo Mizunami to take on uh, Reiwa Ultimate Powers, consistent of Hiroyo Matsumoto and Dash Shizako. I thought the match was pretty good. I mean, I was like very impressed with the idea. I mean, um, I cannot recall if Maname has ever won a championship, but nonetheless, it was Ryo Mizunami who picked up the win with a driver onto Matsumoto, and just like that, they are our brand new tag team champions. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know when I'll be reviewing another Sendai's show, but hopefully soon. But we'll see what happens. But for right now, let's just end this right here and move on with GCW's role model. GCW role model. This happened in Detroit, Michigan, and Harpo's back on the 23rd of March, this past Saturday. It opened up with the Garbage Daddies, consistent of Alec Price and Cole Radrick. They take on the Michigan Pillars, or just Pillars, consistent of Malcolm Mason III, or just MM3, and Tommy Vendetta. It's kind of interesting to see MM3 and Vendetta team up, but nonetheless, they were a very good, strong, capable team. Now, we have seen the Garbage Daddies together. They have become a very strong team as well. I mean, I did often say the Garbage Daddies should get an opportunity of the tag titles. That's something that I would like to see. But they're building up. But however, it was a great combination with Garbage Daddies with a bit of a backdrop driver to a power bomb onto onto Vendetta, and then it was pinned by Alec Price, and just like that, it was over. So I have to say, pretty good opener. Now our next match, we have a bit of a scramble match. We have Marcos Mathers versus Joshua Bishop versus Oni El Bandito versus Karam versus Isaiah Broner versus Gringo Loco. Now, when it comes to scramble matches, many of you may have heard this too many times, either while watching the show or coming from me. You know things can go out of hand. You don't know how things is gonna go. I mean, I wasn't too sure. Now, if it was me, I had maybe a possibility of probably all of them to pick up the win. I mean, you look at Marcus Mathers, great wrestler, but he has a great capability as a high flyer. Same thing with Gringo Loco and Oni Bandito, but Bandito has a body of a powerhouse wrestler despite of all of it. You have Joshua Bishop, Karam, and Oni and Isaiah Broner. They are both powerhouses. All of them are powerhouses, but that kind of sets it up how this was going to begin. But in the end, it was Gringo Loco who picked up the win by pinning Mathers, and it was just done like that. So he gets the W for this match. Now our next match, this is a non-title match, Sawyer Wreck versus Blake Christian. Now we know that these two were supposed to tango with each other a while back, but due to the situation with Sawyer Wreck, she was sick, unable to compete. But Blake Christian, you would think that I don't think Blake Christian should worry about losing this match, but he is because there is the possibility if somehow Soryrek was able to pick up the win, she could get in the conversation for a title shot, which is something he does not want. But of course, he has his insurance policy as always. Um, Mercer to help him out, and then of course because of distraction by Mercer, um, he applied the stomp, and just like that, it was over. Now we do see a bit of a clip with Masha Slamovich sending a direct message to her opponent at Bloodsport. We're talking about Shayna Baszler. So basically, she was addressing about her, talking about her being a disciple and all that. So I'm looking forward to see how that's gonna. But they even showed this very same clip also on the following day for the Block is Hot. So we'll see where that leads to. Now, our next match, I have to say this is a very fun, exciting match. We have Dan the Dad versus Microman. Yep, Microman takes on Dan the Dad. And Dan the Dad brought a small cup of coffee for him. I'm like, that was crazy. But I don't know what Dan the Dad was thinking. He actually tried to do the look down in, and that whole thing when you were a kid, things like that. But Microman was going to play games with them. I think Dan the Dad must have underestimated Microman. I mean, people often say don't underestimate him, regardless. But it was a big splash by Microman that allowed him to pick up the win. But as soon as the match was over, you can say they hugged it out. Bygones be bygones. Let's just be. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Yep. I think they're going to be good friends. Not going to lie about that. Now, our next match. Now, originally we were supposed to have Richard Holiday team up with Charles Mason, but unfortunately he wasn't there. Pero was. So basically, you would think this is going to be an interesting match. And you probably ask, where the hell was Charles Mason? Well, I think his pride was broken after Danhausen beat him, but that's how it grows. But however, they have to focus on the task at hand against the mothership, Dark Sheik and Alley Catch. Now, this match would have won in favor of course, the mothership if it wasn't for Mance Warner. Now, as you know, we would have thought in our righteous minds when Effie defeated him, this was over. But apparently it wasn't. But because of this attack, Richard Holiday took advantage on the situation, did the 2008 on Alley, and picked up the win just like that. But sooner or later, Alley Catch Dark Sheik will get revenge on Mercer for what he has done. So, yeah. Now, our next match, we have a tag team. We have the Bang and Matthews taking on Jacob and Zilla Fatu. Now, I have to say, Davey Bang and August Matthews did an amazing job. Now, you would think that they will try to hold on as long as possible against two Samoans. I have to say, you probably be amazed how, even though for men of their size, take on big Samoans. I mean, here's the thing, guys. Me, as in my regular day job, I work security. Many, many, many years ago, I think this was back in late 2005, we had a little situation with Samoans causing a little problem. And I knew for down in my head, I'm like, these guys are big and they can beat the crap out of me. And I knew that was going to happen. So we tried to address the situation. But in this type of way, you would think with Jacob Fatu and Zilla, both Samoans, you would not stand a chance. But somehow they were able to stand long enough, but not enough to keep both Zilla and Jacob Fatu down. But it was a big mid-air spike by Zilla Fatu onto Matthews, and just like that, it was over. That midair flying spike is done. Now, if you guys don't know this, Zilla Fatu, he is the son of the late Umaga. If you guys remember that big Samoan bulldozer, Umaga, the same one. So it makes sense that he uses Samoan spike in honor and memory of his father. So I thought it was a pretty good thing. Now, our next match, we have Shane Mercer being accompanied by that piece of garbage, our current GCW champion, Blake Christian, while Joey Janela being accompanied by Missy Hyatt. Now, don't forget these Mercer, I mean Blake Christian and Joey Janela will meet at Spring Break on WrestleMania week for the title. Now, you would think that Blake Christian would try to get involved. He did, but luckily, Missy Hyatt did show up with the Gucci bag. And then, of course, Sawyer Rex showed up. But however, later there was a low blow onto Mercer, and then later the Gucci bag, and just like that, it was over. However, in the post match, Joey Janela said that he told Blake Christian what he had to say. He told him he is sick and tired of him cheating his way through, defacing what the GCW title stood for and all this other stuff. So he said but the next day in Rochester for the main event, it's going to be him and of course Sawyer Wreck along with Missy Hyde when she brings the Gucci back, taking on Blake Christian and Mercer. But you got to ask yourself this obvious question: Does Blake Christian should be concerned with the possibility of losing his belt at Spring Break? Well, we could see that happening, but nonetheless, anything is a possibility. Now, our next match, we have Violence is Forever defending their tag titles against the Rejects, Reed Bentley and John Wayne Murdoch. But man, I have to say this was the toughest task for Violence is Forever because the Rejects are not people you don't want to take lightly because they are a dangerous group. They're not here to play games. I know Violence is Forever is not that type of group that are here to play games. But when it comes to the Rejects, they are the type who are saying, step into our world, bitch. So that's how it was. They brought in all kinds of plunder that you use to make someone bleed. And I think that was something that possibly Violence Forever did not expect. But they were able to survive when they applied the Chase of the Dragon, which is the combination of Insiguri Brainbuster onto Reed Bentley. And just like that, it was over. Garena picked up the win. And just like that, Violence Forever retained the belt. Now, our main event, we have Matt Cardona, who claims that he is the savior of indie wrestling, all this and that, takes on Danhausen. However, Danhausen had to say some things saying that Matt Cardona stole some things from him. I mean, not like physical things, but things that Danhausen used to do, like the internet title that Cardona has. He's Hausen saying that you're the one who stole the idea from me. So, but you would think that way, and of course, Broski, Jimmy, and Steph Delanders would get involved, but luckily Nick Gage was there to happen. And then, of course, just like that, a boot with it onto the teeth by Danhausen allowed them to win. So I thought it was a pretty good one. But Nick Gage, we are going to see him teaming up with Danhausen for the titles against Violence Forever. So let's get started right now with that because we're done with Role Model. Let's move on with the next GCW show, and I believe that is The Block is Hot. Okay, GCW's The Block is Hot in Rochester, New York, or as we call it, Brody Lee Country. So that's right, you guys. If you remember, Rochester, New York is the home of John Hubbard, better known as Luke Harper slash Brody Lee. So this took place this past Sunday on the 24th of March, and let's see how things go. Our very first match we have is Cole Radrick taking on um, Kevin Blackwood. I have to say it was a pretty good opener. I mean, their styles are almost similar, but the only difference is we know that Kevin Blackwood has a bit of a technical aspect. Uh, as for Cold Radrick, well, I would like to say he does have a bit of a striking capability, but a bit of some unorthodox ways. But it always helps. But it was, of course, Cold Radrick with the Sebastian curse onto Blackwood, and just like that, he gets the W for the day. Our next match, once again, we saw Pero and Richard Holiday teaming up. They take on Infinity and Beyond, two guys from the general area. However, we just saw the sudden return of Charles Mason. As you know, he was gone after he was humiliated big time towards Stanhausen. I don't know if he finally is over it, realizing that he messed with the wrong dude. I mean, Charles Mason is the kind of guy who I know for a fact he will not let things go until someone tries to take him out. But I'm sure he's done playing games and I'm sure he wants to just get down to business. But you would think that was the case. So the match went into strictly to Charles Mason and Richard Holiday taking on to Infinity and Beyond. And my surprise, surprise, of Infinity and Beyond had everything under their control. But of course, Pero would get in the way, and not to mention, we had a chokehold by Mason, and it was over right from there. So the match went into the rich and powerful, and just like that, it was done. Our next match, we have Broski Jimmy taking on Nick Wayne. Now, Nick Wayne, who knows Jimmy for a long time, has had enough of his shenanigans, claiming that, of course, he was brainwashed thanks to none other than Matt Cardona. But of course, Steph Delander was gonna be there, distract the referee, and then Jimmy actually low blowed him, and then Jimmy applied a package pile through the chairs. However, that would have been enough to put away Nick Wayne, but it did not. Nick Wayne actually kicked out, and of course, Steph Delander was like, cannot believe how things are not going according to plan. But luckily, Nick Wayne was able to overcome it and applied Wayne's World, and it was over right from there. He gets the W of the day. Now, our next match, we have Mance Warner taking on Microman. Now, of course, the obvious question we see when Mance Warner has come is he going to be too violent on Microman? Yes, he probably will because he doesn't care about the rules anymore. The only thing he cares about is now trying to get the GCW World Title. That's what matters to him at the most. Also this match in a contest. Then he attempted to remove Microman's mask, but luckily Alley Cat showed up, and of course, Mance Warner just ran with his tail between his legs. So yeah. Now our next match, we have a bit of a four-way scramble match. We have Marcus Mathers, who is a local in Rochester. He faces against Jay Lyons versus Ariel Von Gogh, who I found out his name is Zenshi, who I seen in MLW, and then of course there's Facade, who I haven't seen in a long time. But yes, the match, there was a lot of high flying aspect in this one, which I like. I like high flyers. But in the end, of course, somehow this match ended in favor of Marcus Mathers, who is the local hero. He picks up the win on Facade when he applied the 450 splash, and just like that, it was over. Our next match, we have tag team action, and we got Jacob and Zilla Fatu taking on Oni El Bendito and Gringo Loco. This match was insane. I mean, it was incredible. But I wasn't too sure where this is gonna end up. But luckily, it was, of course, the midair Simone spike by Zilla Fatu onto Oni El Bandito, and it was over right from there. I'm like, wow, that was amazing. That spike is amazing how it went down. So I love it. Now, our next match, we have the Mothership, Ali Catch and Dark Sheet taking on High Seas, Nick Ando and Cloudy. I thought this match was a bit fun. Uh, of course, there were certain moments I saw where Nick Ando tried to take out Ali Catch, and then she grabbed his head and put his head right in her, in her lady business, which was very humiliating. But in the end, it was, of course, Dark Sheik with a big leg drop on the top corner onto Cloudy, and just like that, Mothership picked up the win. I was surprised that Mansmoor didn't even show up. I mean, he would definitely try to humiliate Alley Catch and Dark Sheik for what they did to him, but yes, it did not happen. But luckily, it did not. Now, our next match, we have the GCW Tag Team titles on the line. Violence Forever taking on Danhausen and Nick Gage. I mean, things seems like they were going great for Nick Gage and Danhausen, but however, it was of course a small package by Kevin Koo to Danhausen to pick up the win. And then during the post match, trouble in paradise between Nick Gage and Danhausen. Nick Gage was not happy, and of course, Danhausen told him that he was out to curse him. So, however, he did state it that at the collective, he wants to be in a match against Danhausen with a partner of his choosing. And later he announced that he's bringing Maki Ito. So the real question I have to ask, who is in fact going to be his tag partner? That's a long list to figure out, but we'll see. Now, our next match, we have Sawyer Wreck and Joey Janela taking on Shane Mercer and Blake Christian. Now, don't forget, Blake Christian defends his belt at Spring Break against Joey Janela, so that's something we are going to expect. But of course, there will be moments where we think that, of course, Blake Christian would try to ensure this match build up to his momentum, but luckily it was the Gucci bag by Missy Hyatt that allowed Joey to pick up the win. So the obvious question does tell: should this be a concern to Blake Christian? I would say hell yes. You may lose the belt to Joey Janela at Spring Break. So we'll see where that leads us from here on out. So now remember, now this is the last shows before we get to the collective. So from here on out, there will be no more GCW shows until then, until we get to the collective. I'm not so we'll see how that rolls up with the collective. I'll be reviewing them maybe during or maybe after WrestleMania week. I'm not sure. It's going to be quite a bumpy ride. So we'll see. But for right now, let's just end things here with GCW and move on with our last and final thing, and that is, of course, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's get this show on the road for that. Now, we're going to begin with the promotions on upcoming events. Now, let's begin with GCW's upcoming events. As you know, after the collective, they'll have their upcoming show, How High in LA, at the Ukrainian Culture Center on the 20th of April. They just announced that the cutest in the world, Maki Ito, will be participating on that day. And then, of course, a month later, for the Gringo Locos, the World on Lucha, on the 5th of Cinco de Mayo, of course, they announced that Masha Slamovich will take on Dulce Tormenta. So that's going to be a very interesting match to watch. Now, they even announced Trish Adora will be making her return to GCW. She's been booked for some upcoming events in the month of May. May 3rd in Tampa and May 26th in Columbus, Ohio. So we'll follow up more on those details, and then we'll see how that rolls up. Now, as you know, for the WrestleMania week, Spark Joshi Puroresu of America has announced for their Trailblaze event on the 7th of April. Two names have been added for that event. We have Hyan and, of course, Brittany Blake. So that's going to be a very fun thing to watch. Now, also, more on the MLW Azteca Lucha that will take place on May 11th. They announced the Magnus would also be participating on that event as well. Now, as you know, recently I reviewed a much recent event from the Thailand promotion SetUp. They just announced for their upcoming event called the Clash of the Titans. They'll take place on May 25th, and two title matches have been announced. They announced that for the SetUp All Asian Women's title. Now, if you remember, Matt Chat defeated, of course, Taiwan's very own Princess Pistachio, and Monolith declared that he wants a shot of that belt. However, Matt Chat was against it, but apparently someone spoke into a message to both of them, and turned out to be Mizuki from Tokyo Pro. That's right, Mizuki is involved in this, so it turns out The match has been booked into a three-way. So Matchette defends her title against Mizuki and Mononov. So that's going to be a very tricky thing for her to have. So we'll see about that. But however, the other title match on that particular day with SetUp, the SetUp Openweight title will be defended. Shivam, who is the first and of course the ace of SetUp, face off the current ace of SetUp, of course, Jonathan Johnson. So that's going to be rather interesting to see. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, for some interesting developments, as you know, we did announce that Mai Sakurai will be leaving Stardom by soon enough. However, many of you may question about the reasons. Apparently, Tokyo Sports actually had an interview with her, and it was translated by a guy named Shigeo. Don't know, I don't know him personally, but he posted stuff about translations when it comes to this type of thing. So let me pull that up real quick. Yes. This is what she had to say. The reason I leave Stardom is not for Julia. It's just happened to decided to leave the company at the same as her. I felt uncomfortable with myself always doing routine work. I dare to take the tough road for myself. So I guess many people would speculate that okay, yeah, Mai Sakurai, we know who is a Julia follower, would follow her, and I mean it's very understandable that people would think that way. But if she felt uncomfortable how things have been in Stardom, it's understandable. I mean, who know? I don't know exactly the routine that she has with them. I'm sure it was probably tiresome. I mean, don't forget for the last 2 years, um, from last year and the 2 years before that, they were working nonstop, and I'm sure maybe that put her into a state where it's like she's worn out. I'm not sure, but we'll see how things will turn up. Now, the current New Japan's president, Tanahashi, has gave his thoughts on Tsuji. He feels that he thinks highly of him, and he said that he would like to make him a big a star as Shinsuke Nakamura. So basically, he wants to bring put Yota Tsuji in that position where he can be as big as Nakamura. I have to say, why not? I mean, he is drawing a lot of crowds and people are behind him, and I'm sure that he's a big star. I wouldn't be surprised if he does win the IWGP World Heavyweight title and dismantle it and bring back the fourth version of the IWGP Heavyweight title. So we'll just wait and see how that turns up. And then, of course, finally for our developments, AEW will have a new time slot during WrestleMania weekend. They haven't announced when, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to have Collision on that particular day. So we'll see about that. Now, finally, our last update. As you know, recently, last year, there was an alliance of Japanese promotions are now going to be in a working relationship, like an alliance called the United Japan Pro Wrestling, or UJPW. It consists with various promotions. Now, they did announce for their upcoming event on May called All Together. This is not the first time they actually had this show. This show took place last year, and I thought it was a fun one. But there is another one that will take place in the 15th of June in Sapporo. Originally, they want to do that in Cork and Hall, but apparently things didn't go exactly according to plan. However, the promotions that will be participating in Altogether will be none other than Pro Wrestling Noah, New Japan Pro Wrestling, DDT, Dragon Gate, Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and of course, wait for it, Stardom. So Stardom will be participating. Now, some of you will probably question, hey, J-Rod, what about Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling? Well, fortunately, it's not going to happen. It was already foretold why. Apparently, on that very week of Altogether, Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling will have a show during Golden Fight Week in Corkin Hall on that very same day. So basically, they already had plans set up for that. But hopefully, the next time we'll see how that rolls up. But they did announce. But also, some of you may question, what about All Japan? Well, right now I have to say All Japan are in a state of limbo due to the fact that because WWE have an interest of having them be their partners, a lot of turmoil is happening. So not much has been revealed about that, but hopefully soon enough. But however, they did announce for two matches for the May sixth event for all together. We do have Naomichi Marufuji representing Noah, Hiroshi Tanahashi representing New Japan, and Sanshiro Tagagi from DDT. They will be teaming up to take on those pieces of garbages, the House of Torture, Evil, Ren Narita, and of course Yujiro Takahashi. So this is going to be interesting. And then another match was announced. We have the Battle of the Haas. In a tag match, we have Daisuke Sekimoto from Big Japan. He teams up with Tomohiro Ishii. They take on Jeff Cobb and Masahiro Takanashi. So that's going to be a very interesting event. I can't wait to see it. We'll see how that rolls up from there. But right now, I think we are done with everything with our news updates and our reviews. So I think it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, for Tuesday Wrestling, we have NXT. Now, I haven't decided yet what I want to do for upcoming shows that I haven't seen yet. As I said countless times, I'm behind on Noah and All Japan, but we'll see how that rolls up from here on out. But nonetheless, we'll see. I'm still got some wrestling I haven't seen yet. We'll just roll with it for the time being. But for now, I will see you guys on the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.